icon series.
Morning children. So in the last class we have seen how puppets came into origin on this world based on the life of a king, and we have completed the grammar part in that and the activity part. So now in this class we are going to start a new lesson, and that is about a very famous person. We know there are a lot of famous people in this world, like say for example APJ Abdul Kalam, our previous president. So before becoming a president, he was the chairman or the director of ISRO, and then before that he was a senior scientist over there, and he was a person who developed the missiles like Agni series of missiles, then polar satellite launching vehicles, the kind of rockets that we use to launch satellites into the space, right? So have you ever read about his childhood or his early days? We know this thing. He was a very famous scientist. He was a person who developed these rocket systems, missiles. Then he used to go to the colleges and give teachings. Then he was very famous. He became the president of India. But how has he achieved all these kinds of things? See, this is one very basic part that we all should take care of. How they have become so prominent, so famous. Okay? And that is why these people are called great personalities, like the people like Mahatma Gandhi or Swami Vivekananda or Nelson Mandela, one of the famous leaders of the black people in South Africa. Then there was, this man, Mr. Barack Obama, the previous president of USA. We have plenty of leaders in our country, and there are people around the world. Okay, so when we start to observe, when we start to study their lives carefully, then we come to know a lot about them. And they might have gone through the kinds of hardships, difficulties that we have never gone through. Never ever in our life we had gone through such difficulties. See, for example, we will consider APJ Abdul Kalam. Okay, so APJ Abdul Kalam. So where was he born? He was born in the small island region of India, which is an extension of Tamil Nadu, known as Rameshwaram. Okay, it's a small island. There is only hardly one school over there, nothing more than that. But as he studied, he wanted to become an aeronautical engineer. Even as a small child, his dream was to become an aeronautical engineer. But his family was not a rich family. His family was not a rich family to send him to Chennai, then it was Madras. But he struggled, he worked hard, and only through such kind of hard works, he has achieved such greatness. He became an aeronautical engineer. He joined ISRO. He started working there as a junior scientist. He got promoted to the senior scientist. Then he became the chairman there. And after that, he became the advisor for the government of India in the aspects of defense and aeronautical engineering. And then he became a president of India. It's not happening overnight. Not at all happening overnight. And we study, we read, we learn the hardships of these people so that we can get inspiration from them. We have got to such a great school where we are studying. But APJ Abdul Kalam studied in an ordinary government school. If a student studied in such a school can achieve great things, then what about we people who get much more a better education? So what make them different? There are some qualities in them. And in today's class, we are actually going to learn about one particular person. His name is Abraham Lincoln, or he was cutely called as Abe, A-B-E. Right? So Abraham Lincoln, we know, was the 16th President of America. 16th President of America. He always supported the black. He was against slavery. Slavery means what? Yeah. In those days, the Americans had a habit of bringing people from Africa. The black people were brought from Africa, and they were called Negroes. And these Negroes are made servants. They were not given proper food. They were not paid any money, but they have to work like animals throughout the day until they die. Okay, so there was a system called slavery. Abraham Lincoln was against this slavery, and he even made the first attempts to remove slavery from the American soil, and he was shot dead. Okay, he was shot dead by a person who supports slavery, right? So these are the things that we know. So now, today we will learn what exactly was happening in his childhood and all. Okay, what kind of a child Abraham Lincoln was, what kind of an education did he had, what was his attitude, how was his family, and all these kinds of things, right? So today in this lesson we are going to learn about Abraham Lincoln, Lincoln the Great, and this we are going to learn through a small girl. Her name is Kirti. Right? So what is her name? Kirti. So Kirti is a small girl, and something is happening in the house of Kirti, and through this thing that is happening there in the house of Kirti, we will learn about Abraham Lincoln. Alright? So what was happening there in Kirti's house? So it was an evening. It was an evening. The doorbell rang. Doorbell, the bell that is connected near the front door of the house rang. What does it mean? Somebody is there at the door. Okay, so Kirti went and opened the door, and she found her dad over there. Her father was standing there. But Kirti was surprised. Kirti was surprised because her father had come earlier that day. So usually he will be coming much late. He will be very late to come. But now, on this day, he had come earlier. Right? So, she was quite happy, and she asked her dad, "You have come back home much earlier." So, her dad, his name is Venu. His name is Venu. So who is Venu? Venu is the father of Kirti. So he came down, took her up and said, "We are going for a movie." So she was quite happy. Why was she so happy? Because her father just told that he had come earlier to take her for a picture, for a movie. So she was quite surprised and asked, "Which movie?" Venu said, "Lincoln." The name of the movie is Lincoln. So Kirti said, "Yeah, recently I have read in the newspaper that the Lincoln movie has got some Oscar awards." So Oscar awards. So Oscar Awards is actually the highest award that is awarded to the movie actors or in the field of movie. This is awarded by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science. So there is an organization by the name the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science. This is one of the highest bodies in the world about movies. Okay, so they assess go through the best movies around the world and they give awards, and that award is known as the Oscar Award. Oscar Award is the highest level of international recognition. Okay, in any field of movie making, like it can be acting, it can be directing, it can be writing it can be writing this lyrics, the songs in that, can be music. Our A.R. Rahman has received Oscar awards for his movies in Jai Ho. Like the name of the movie was Slumdog Millionaire, right? So in that there is a song called Jai Ho for which he got these awards. Okay, so Oscar awards are the highest international level recognition in the field of a movie. So Kirti said that she does remember that she had read this in the newspaper that this particular movie called Lincoln has got some awards in the Oscar award festivals, and the actor who played the Lincoln's role, so original Abraham Lincoln won't be there to act it, no? So there was an actor. There was an actor who was acting the role of Abraham Lincoln, and he was the person who got this award in the movie Abraham Lincoln. Okay, so one thing we need to notice here now is Kirti was a girl who had the habit of reading newspaper. Okay, so remember, if we have this reading of newspaper, there is a lot of scope for us to know new things and remember those things as well. Okay. Now, Kirti had this habit of reading newspaper, and then she came to know that this particular movie, Lincoln, has received a lot of recognition, worldwide recognition, and the man who played the role of Abraham Lincoln in the movie Lincoln got an Oscar award also. Okay, and then Venu said, yes, you are right, my dear girl, you are right. It's Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis. So the name of the person is Daniel Day-Lewis, who did the role of Abraham Lincoln in the movie Lincoln, and he got Oscar awards for that acting in that movie. Okay, so Kirti was quite excited by the fact that her father had come home earlier to take her for a movie. Obviously, we are all will be interested, no? And her father had actually come home to take them for a movie which has won Oscar awards. Such a great movie. So then Kirti said, okay, Dad, it's all well and good. We are going to watch the movie Lincoln, which has got some Oscar awards also. Now, when are we going to go for the movie? Huh? When are we going to go? He said, it's just 4 o'clock now. I've come earlier from the office. The movie starts at 7. So we have 3 hours to go. Okay? You need not worry. We have got 3 hours time to go for the movie. Because the movie starts at 4 and it's just 4 o'clock. So Kirti's mother came out to the hall at this time. Her name was Sarala. Okay, so Sarala, Kirti's mother, Venu's wife, she came to the living room at that time, and she also was surprised to see Venu standing there because usually he won't come on that time. He will be quite late. So what did she do? She expressed her surprise. What a great surprise it is. You have come back home so early today. Okay, don't worry. I will get you some tea and snacks. Okay, so you have come home earlier. I never expected you expected you to be here by this time. Okay, don't worry. Stay. Take some rest. I will get some tea. Venu looked up and said, that would be great. Venu just looked at Sarala and said, it's great to have a cup of tea and some snacks. And make it fast because we have to go for the movie. Okay? So make it fast. We have to go for the movie and we will leave at 6 p.m. Okay, movie is at 7 p.m. We will leave at 6 p.m. so that we will have enough time to travel, go there, go to a seat and make ourselves comfortable. Okay, so Sarala came from inside the house and she was quite surprised to see her husband over there. And she said, okay, I will get you some tea and snacks. Venu said, okay, no problem, but make it fast because we need to go for the movie. The movie is at 7 o'clock and we have to start by 6. Sarala said, okay, no problem. No problem. We will get ready by that time. And Sarala went to the kitchen. Sarala means Kirti's mother went to the kitchen to get the snacks, biscuits, tea, biscuits and some other things. So they again, Kirti and Venu were alone in the hall. And then Kirti all of a sudden got a doubt. Kirti had a sudden doubt that, can you tell me something more about this man called Abraham Lincoln? Why is he so famous a person? How has he become so famous? And why do people want to make movies out of him? So is he somewhere special? So it's interesting, na? Kirti was quite amused. What is that thing that is special in Abraham Lincoln? Why is he so famous? Why do you want people to make movies out of? I mean, we all are living here. Nobody is making any movie out of us, isn't it? Have everybody come to you and told we are going to make a movie out of you? No. Then why Abraham Lincoln? Venu said, okay, no problem. Okay, don't worry, my dear child, I will tell you. But if you ask all these questions at a time, it will be quite difficult for me to answer. Right? So, I will tell you one by one. So, Abraham Lincoln is famous because he was one of the greatest leaders of America. As we have Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru or Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in India, as there is Nelson Mandela in South Africa, Abraham Lincoln was a very famous leader, a great leader, not famous, a very great leader as far as American history is concerned. He was one of the greatest leaders of America and he became the 16th President of the United States. 16th President of United States. He became the President of United States of America in the year 1861 and he was the President up to 1865. Okay? So he was the 16th President of United States of America. So who was the 16th President of America? Abraham Lincoln was the 16th President of America and he became the President of America in the year 1861 and he continued to be the President until 1865. Okay, so when Venu said this, Suddenly, Kirti had another doubt. So she asked her dad, was his father also the President of America? So was it that until 1861 his father was the President of America and after 61 he became the President of America? Was it so? So Kirti asked whether his father also was a President of America. Then Venu said no. His father was not the President of America. Actually, Abraham Lincoln's family was a very poor family. He was born in a log cabin. Log cabin means what? Log cabin means huge wooden logs are there. Okay, if imagine this is a tree. Okay, and if they cut it, right, then this becomes a log. Okay, so this is a log. So these kinds of huge logs are piled one above the other and tied together, and thus they make a home. There is no concrete walls and all. Okay, it's a temporary house kind of a stuff. Very poor people will live in such kinds of houses because they can cut the trees and they make it themselves. So actually Abraham Lincoln was born in such a log house, a log cabin in the place called Kentucky. Kentucky. Have you ever heard of this place called Kentucky? At least some of you might have heard it. No idea? So there is something called Kentucky Fried Chicken. There is something called Kentucky Fried Chicken. An idea? KFC. Yes. So KFC also originated in the same place where Abraham Lincoln was born. So that is the same place called Kentucky. Don't go back, go to KFC, be back over here. Okay? Yes. So he was born in the place called Kentucky. Kentucky is in America. Okay? So Kentucky is a place in Indiana, the state of Indiana. There is a state called Indiana, a region called Indiana in USA, and Kentucky is a place there in that. Okay, like we have Andhra Pradesh in India where we have Guntur. So like Andhra Pradesh we have Indiana there, and like Guntur we have Kentucky there, right? So Kentucky is a place in Indiana in United States of America, and he was born there. Okay, so his father's name was Thomas Lincoln. His father's name was Thomas Lincoln, and his mother's name was Nancy Hanks Lincoln. Nancy Hanks Lincoln. So Abraham Lincoln was born as a son of Thomas Lincoln and Nancy Hanks Lincoln in a log cabin in a place called Kentucky in USA. So where was Abraham Lincoln born? Abraham Lincoln was born in a log cabin in Kentucky as a son of Mr. Thomas Lincoln and Mrs. Nancy Hanks Lincoln. Okay, he had an elder sister and a younger brother, but this brother died in infancy itself, means being a small baby itself. Okay, so that's it. Lincoln was born as a second child of Thomas Lincoln and Nancy Hanks Lincoln in a log house or log cabin in Kentucky. He had an elder sister and a younger brother who died in his infancy. Infancy means immediately after birth or being a small baby itself. Now, they had some land problems. His father had some land problems and all. And in 1817, they moved from Kentucky to Indiana. Next place. Okay, they moved to Indiana. When Abraham Lincoln was 9 years old, he lost his mother, Nancy Hanks Lincoln, because of milk sickness. So there is a rare kind of disease called milk sickness. So milk sickness is actually a problem by drinking milk, simply saying. Because there is a plant which is called the snake root. So what is the name of the plant? Snake root. So snake root is a plant which is actually poisonous. The cows usually eat it also. The cows will not die. But the poison in this root, this plant called the snake root, will go on to the milk of the cow. We milk the milk, we boil it and we drink it. But when we drink it, the poison in this snake root plant comes to us through the milk of the cow which have eaten this. Okay, so this is a strange kind of a disease because the milk is actually poisonous. Okay, the milk of that cow which have eaten the plant called snake root is poisonous, and we get that poison when we drink that milk. That disease is known as a milk sickness. The cow ate snake root plant. Its milk became poisonous. We milked that milk, boiled and drank, and we get that poison. That disease is called milk sickness. So Mary Hanks Lincoln had this milk sickness and she died. And when Mary Hanks Lincoln died, Abraham Lincoln was just 9 years old. Within a few months of his mother's death, his father, Thomas Lincoln, married again. Okay, within a few months of his mother's death, Thomas Lincoln married another lady. Her name was Sarah Bush Johnson. Okay, so within months of the death of Nancy Hanks, Thomas Lincoln married another lady. Her name was Sarah Bush Johnson. She was very strong. Strong in the sense, she was very powerful and very affectionate, very loving. She had 3 other children. And she, adopted Abraham Lincoln also into them. And she was the courage for these children. She was a power for these children. Okay, whenever they want to do something, they need to get the permission of this lady, that is it. If she allows it, then they can do anything. And she was quite affectionate with this lady, and she encouraged him to read. Sarah Bush Johnson encouraged Abraham Lincoln to read as much as possible. Reading is a good habit, isn't it? We have seen Kirti also came to know about the award that Abraham Lincoln movie had won through reading. Okay, so Sarah Bush Johnson, she is a stepmother. Okay, not the original mother but the stepmother. Right. So, Sarah Bush Johnson encouraged her children to read a lot, develop it as a habit, and Abraham Lincoln caught it very fast. He was quite interested in reading a lot, and he used to read a lot also. He used to read a lot. So with the inspiration, encouragement of his stepmother, Sarah Bush Johnson, Abraham Lincoln became a vivid reader. Whatever comes across him, he will read. That was the situation. When Venu said, Lincoln had this particular habit of reading a lot, Kirti suddenly had a doubt. Then what about his school? When did he go to school? How long did he study there? We all learn to read at school, isn't it? Huh? We all go to school. We all learn everything at a school. What about Abraham Lincoln then? So when did he go to school? Where did he start to learn to read? And how far was he able to read? What about that? Venu smiled and said, he was self-educated. He was mostly self-educated. Self-educated means there was no teacher to teach him. Means he hadn't gone to school much. With the help of some elders, he understood which is A, which is B, which is C, and started to reading himself. His father was not a rich man. He had a small plot of land where he used to do some cultivation. He worked as a laborer. Isn't it? So he was not rich. He couldn't send his son to study in big schools and all. But Sarah Bush Johnson, the stepmother of Abraham Lincoln, she encouraged Abraham Lincoln to read as much as possible, and he was amazed by the books that he got. We won't even imagine he used to walk long distances in search of books. Somebody may say the man who lives on another village, who is around 10 kilometers away from this village, has that book. This small boy, Abraham Lincoln, will walk all the 10 kilometers, go there and sit there and ask him, sir, if you don't mind, can you give me that book? There is a very interesting story also. No? You might have heard this also. Once he went to his neighbor. Abraham Lincoln, a small boy, went to his neighbor and asked, sir, I heard you have a book, which is the autobiography of George Washington, the first president of USA, United States of America. Sir, I heard so that you have this book with you. So if you don't mind, can you please lend that to me for reading? I will read it and I'll give it back to you. I will read this textbook one, and after reading that, I will give it back to you. The man knew Abraham Lincoln very well. So he allowed and he gave the book. So we knew, Abraham Lincoln lived in a log cabin, a small hut kind of a house. So after reading, he used to keep this book, in between the sheet and the wood on the roof. So one day it rained very heavily and this book got damaged. The book got damaged. Abraham Lincoln went to the neighbor and said, sir, unfortunately in yesterday's rain, the book got damaged. I'm willing to pay for that, but I don't have any money. But instead of paying you that in money, I will work in your field and I'll pay for that. You need not give me any salary. You need not give me any wages or a payment. Instead of that, you tell me how many days I have to work over here. I will work for those many days and I will pay you the money. That was the interest of Abraham Lincoln. Yes, he worked there and paid the money back. Okay, so Abraham Lincoln was that interested in reading books. Okay, he was even willing to go miles and miles in search of books. Get the book, read it, give it back. Now, Kirti had a doubt again. Now, what kind of books did he read then? He was a boy, no? So what were the kinds of books that he used to read? Venu said the popular kind of books at that time. There is a book called Aesop's Fables. Aesop's Fables. We have Panchatantra Stories, na? We have a Panchatantra Stories. So in the same way, there is another book called Fables. Aesop's Fables. Then Robinson Crusoe, an adventurous story, Pilgrim's Progress, epic kind of a thing, and of course the family Bible. So he used to read the familiar, famous books of his time. Right? He used to read a lot, and he used to read the kinds of familiar books of his time. Right? Now, later they went from Indiana to Illinois. There is another famous place there called Illinois, and they went there, and Abraham Lincoln was famous there by the name Honest Abe. He was famous for his honesty. I told you, when he lost his book, he went to the neighbor and said, "Sir, I lost the book got damaged, I will pay for that." He was so famous for his honesty. Actually, Abraham Lincoln was tall, very lean, thin. Okay, he was tall, he was lean, he was very thin, but he was very strong. He was very strong. He was able to, cut woods. Give him an axe and send him into the forest. He will cut as many wood as possible. He was very good at that, because he used to work along with his father in these kinds of things. Okay, so he was a very hard-working man, a boy, and he was very famous for his honesty. And at Illinois, he did a lot of works, like he worked as a shopkeeper, he worked as a postmaster, and he even ran a store, a general store for some years. Okay, so as they shifted over to Illinois, he was first famous by his honesty, and then by the kind of works he used to do there. So he became very famous in Illinois. Now, Kirti had another doubt. Okay, he was an ordinary man, a woodcutter's son, didn't study at school, learned to read and read some books. He was very honest. Okay, well and good, but how did he become the President of America? How come? His father was not the President of America. Huh? This man hadn't gone to school, he had not studied anything. Then how come? How is it possible for Abraham Lincoln to become the President of America? Right? So that was one of the biggest doubts that Kirti had as when he was talking about Abraham Lincoln. Okay. So what we have seen up to now is he was born in Kentucky in a log house, and his father was Thomas Lincoln. His mother was Nancy Hanks Lincoln. He had an elder sister and a younger brother who died in his infancy. When he was 9 years old, he lost his mother because of a milk sickness. His father married another lady named Sarah Bush Johnson. She was a very strong, tough and powerful lady, very affectionate also. Lincoln was very close to this lady. She encouraged him to read a lot. Reading became a passion for him. He used to travel kilometers and kilometers, miles and miles in search of books. Later, they moved on from Kentucky to Indiana, Indiana to Illinois, where he was quite famous for his honesty. He was very honest. And he worked as a shopkeeper, a postmaster. He even ran a general stores over there, and he became very popular in Illinois. Okay, so we also will go along with the doubt of Kirti. How did this man become the president of America in our next class? Okay, so till then, take care.